Hello people of YouTube, my name is Shady Shadow. This is Special Report, your news and views program about geek gaming culture on the internet. Coming up in the show today, Untitled Sakai, the head director of Sailor Moon Crystal, is hinting that the work of the series might be completed, and also hints that he is leaving Toei Animation. My name is Shady Shadow, and the Special Report will start right about now. Well, if you were wondering about the future of Sailor Moon Crystal, and don't worry, you are not the only one by any stretch of the imagination, you might be interested in learning what Untitled Sakai, who was the head director of Sailor Moon Crystal, tweeted out last night. He posted a couple of tweets that are relevant to this particular story, which are the most recent as of the recording of this special report. Both of them are in Japanese, but thankfully Bing has a translation, and this might not be word for word the exact translation, but it is trying as hard as it possibly can, so please be advised that some things might sound a little weird once you put them through the translator. The first one read, quote, "Sailor Moon Crystal, their work is completed in this. Our staff, for all the encouragement, we thank violently. Thank you very much." Of course, violently may not be the correct term, but again, keep in mind this is from Bing Translation, so the translation in of itself might not be 100% accurate, but it gets the general term of the phrase that they're trying to get. However, the second tweet is very interesting, maybe more interesting than the first because it hints at a possible reason. The second tweet said, quote, "And while my left Toei past for 23 years include preparation of next in a new environment, notice ordered and you can be as announced when we thank you." This seems to be very broken when you put it through a translator. However, Google Translate has it a little bit different. To the first tweet, he said, quote, "Moon Crystal, their work is completed at this. All the staff vigorously thanks to everyone had you pep talk. Thank you." And to the second tweet, Google Translate has it, quote, "And yourself while away the toy which has passed through 23 years, we have entered into the preparation of the next work in the new environment. So we will sequentially let you know if you have made to the announcement can be so. Thank you." Definitely it translates it a bit differently than Bing Translation, but you get the gist of it. The first tweet hints that possibly Sailor Moon Crystal has been either canceled or that the particular subseries in the meta has been finished and it might turn over to a new director. And we had seen it happen with the original Sailor Moon series, that a couple of different directors had actually taken charge of the series, most notably Junichi Sato and Kunihiko Ikehara. So it's probably, if it were to continue, probably going to go to a new director. And this is probably going to be even more mysterious as to whether or not it's actually going to continue or if this is it. Just remember that they have not released this to the English-speaking territories in the form of a dub yet, and so they might be waiting to see how the dub does in the other territories before they make a decision one way or the other. Also, although I'm not completely aware as to whether or not it is started on television yet, they might be waiting to see how it does on normal traditional television stations as opposed to a web-only series as it was when it first debuted. And plus, keep in mind that these tweets were rather cryptic. I say the word cryptic, it might not be the absolutely correct term to describe it, but in my mind, it's not really clear as to what he means by Sailor Moon Crystal is officially completed. Of course it's officially completed because the 26 episodes which were scheduled to be made have been made and have been aired in its entirety. So of course it's going to be completed, but does that mean that the series has been canceled or that they're moving on to a new subtitled part of the meta series as it were? Is the entire reboot done or is it just that particular 26 episode string? There is no real way to confirm that. There's no real explanation given as to what he's meaning by that. And as such, we still might not have a clear-cut answer as to whether or not they're going to continue into the Infinity arc or the Dreams arc or the Stars arc. We do not have any clue as to what's going on here. And it was really tough to figure out whether or not to actually report on this at all given that information and how cryptic this could actually become. But we're trying to be as careful as possible and to state that this might might not be completely clear as of yet, but this is the first official word that we got about anything regarding the Sailor Moon reboot continuing or ending, as it were. Because, quite frankly, Toei Animation has been kind of silent up until this point. This is strange coming from Toei Animation. This is really weird as to just what exactly is going to happen. We've had those two rumors going about. We've had those two false alarms from Biggs, and then, of course, that Toei France website thing that went about. But other than that, we have not seen anything coming out of Toei as official confirmation or denial of one way or the other. We have not heard anything official up until this point coming from Toei Animation. This is the very first time we've actually heard someone from Toei Animation saying something one way or the other. And even then, when I posted this to Omar Rogue's stream when he was streaming Hearthstone last night, he was still saying that it wasn't very clear, and I have to agree with him. It wasn't that clear as to just what exactly he was particularly trying to say here. Is he saying that the entire series is done, or just that one part of it? What is he meaning? How is he going about saying this? Now, this guy, this particular head director, has been in the midst of controversy. Remember, he was one that is heavily criticized as the one that is responsible for rushing this thing along, responsible for the decisions that have to do with animation and the cutting costs and cutting corners. And he was accused of blocking people on Twitter that would criticize him, and he was also trying to do what he can to rescue any kind of criticism, although that was unconfirmed. There was quite a lot of things that the head director was being accused of, but again, nothing was really confirmed. Nothing was really set in stone that he had been cutting corners intentionally. He was trying to cut costs. We don't really know what was going on there, but he was the one that was heavily criticized as being the guy that should have never been a part of that head writing team or head directing team. And you know, no one was saying that the animation in Sailor Moon Crystal was perfect. I think me and Aura PG and a lot of other reactors were saying countless times it was not perfect. Sailor Moon Crystal's animation could have been a hell of a lot better. However, that being said, it seemed as though a lot of people were trying to make mountains out of molehills with some of these animation errors, where if you didn't have it called out to you, you might have not have noticed it if you were more focused on the story as opposed to a few minor mistakes. Now, there were major mistakes, episode 2, I'm talking to you, that you couldn't help but to notice, and it distracted you from the overall immersion of the story. And I said countless times that if there was something that actually distracted from the story, I will be the first to call it out. I am not like that. I am not going to be fanboyish to anything. If it deserves to be called out, I'm going to call it out. It's as simple as that. However, I'm not going to make mountains out of molehills. If I didn't see it, I'm not going to call it out, because how can you call what you didn't see? And in the case of episode 3, I did not see Usagi's Odongas being missing. I did not see anything like that happening, so I didn't catch it. Now, did I look back and saw that it had happened? Yes. Did it happen? Yes. But did I catch it? Absolutely not. I did not see it when I first watched the show, when I first watched that episode, so I did not call on it. And if I didn't call of it, then it might say something about how important that error was to call it out. Of course, it might be something that another person might say legitimately, hey, this is something I've noticed, and it distracted from their immersion. That might have as well happened. However, someone saying, hey, this happened, you should be making a mountain out of a molehill out of this, that is something that's left up to the eye of the beholder whether or not they want to do that. That's something that should not be forced upon you to think, and we should never force upon anybody to think how we want them to think. We should let them make their own decisions and their own opinions. That makes to a more honest fan base, and it would actually help us in order to get things improved if people were not trying to do stuff like that. Now, as far as whether or not it's going to continue or not, I have to say that they're probably going to wait until they see the results, the ratings for the TV showing of the series, and of course the dub. Many people in the United States might be waiting for the dub in order to come out in order to watch it. I know of at least one person who is. So let's see how that goes. Again, I'm not completely convinced that this is the end of the Sailor Moon reboot. I am not completely convinced. However, this is, of course, the first official word that we got out of anybody, so that has to say a good bit. Now, let's get to the second tweet, because that seems to be part of the reason why he's saying the first. And this is where it gets a little weird, because no matter what translation you use for this, the bottom line is that it seems as though he's leaving Toei altogether. Now, I had somebody who I follow on Twitter say that he was taking a temporary hiatus. However, it does seem as though now this might not be the case, that he might be leaving Toei altogether. We just have the translations to go upon, and if this is the case, and again, we are just speculating if this is what he means by this, and there's some good bit of translation there to suspect that this is actually what's going on, then he's going to leave a hell of a legacy behind. Like it or not, he has been involved in a lot of stuff. One Piece, for all intents and purposes. He was instrumental in the 4th Dragon Ball movie. He was instrumental in Smile Precure. The guy has been known to do a good bit, and to be a part of a company for that long, even if you didn't like how he did Sailor Moon Crystal, and a lot of people did not, it's hard not to fathom a career such as that. It's hard to not at least praise the guy for staying with it for that long, even when he did get a lot of heat for some of the decisions that he had made. And of course, I hope he does find some good work elsewhere, if of course this is the case. Now, we are not quite sure even if he's voluntarily leaving the company, or if he's being let go of a layoff, or if he's being fired. We don't know yet exactly what the details are if this is the case, and if this is not the case, I'm wondering what his tweet was supposed to mean in this sort of regard. But let's assume for a second that it is the case that he's leaving Toei altogether. Let's first speculate as to what the reason could be. And if the reason behind the Sailor Moon Crystal animation being not up to par is because they didn't have enough of a budget for that, it could be some people are being let go. This has happened in recent years in the world, that economic issues have forced people to make some rather harsh decisions, some of which they might not want to make, but they do have to make it in order to stay in the black. And unfortunately, that sometimes means that some head directors, some people who are pretty big in the anime industry or in the game industry have to be let go, and that's a sad reality of the situation, but unfortunately that is what is going on. Now, if he was voluntarily quitting, then maybe he has decided that he had greener pastures, or maybe he didn't like something that was going on in Toei Animation, or maybe he didn't have enough of a good working environment. Maybe he just didn't like it there. Maybe after 23 years he decided that he needed a change of scenery. Maybe the landscape of anime has changed and he thought that he was falling behind where he was. And that can happen as well. Sometimes people want to change the scenery. Maybe some people do want that experience to work for a different company. And if that's the case, I wonder what he was unhappy about. I wonder what he was upset about if that was the case, and who made him a better offer. Or maybe he just wanted to retire. Maybe he just wanted to relax for a while. Maybe he did want to take a hiatus, and maybe this is the only way to do it. And I could see both of those things being a possible cause. Maybe budget cuts, although we might not really know the cause and effect of that said budget cut, and we might not really know of his reasoning for leaving Toei if he decided to leave voluntarily. But of course, there might also be the possibility that he was let go as a result of Toei Animation not being happy with his work. Basically put, they fired him. Why would the reason be? That would be the most logical reason I could suspect, but I hope that's not the case, because I don't like seeing anybody getting fired from their job. You would have to be a really, really awful person in order for me to say that you deserve to be fired from your job. Because hey, everybody has to make a living. I don't like seeing anybody having to fight to keep a roof over their heads or food on the table. I don't like to see anybody go through that. I don't like to see anybody have to scrounge up just to not be on the streets. I don't like to see stuff like that. So I hope that that's not the case, that he didn't get fired from his job and he left voluntarily or whatever. Some people might think that, hey, maybe he deserves to be fired, but I don't know. I don't feel good in saying stuff like that. I just don't. I'm sorry. That's just how I am. That's just how I'm wired. I don't like seeing anybody getting fired. Even for people who you might think deserve to be fired, I don't like seeing stuff like that. I do hope that people who might have had it coming to them might have learned a lesson from that and can seek another job elsewhere rather easily and learn their lessons and not make that same mistake twice. Now, if they did let him go as a result of a termination, I would love to know of the reason behind what Toei Animation was thinking when they went ahead and gave him the axe. I would love to be a fly on the wall on that conversation to see what the hell went down. And I do think that quite possibly the animation of Sailor Moon Crystal, if this is the case that he was let go by grounds of a termination, wasn't the best of their standards, and maybe he was let go on that front. And if that's the case, then what is the status of Sailor Moon Crystal? What is the status of the reboot? What is going on there? And it could be a combination of the two things. Maybe they just weren't happy with his direction of Sailor Moon Crystal, and he wasn't happy that they had that opinion, so he decided to leave. Maybe he really did want to work on the series some more. Maybe he did like what he was doing with the series. Maybe he didn't think anything was wrong, and maybe he just got mad when they told him, hey, something's not right here. But what then happens to the series? Maybe that's why he said the first tweet. Maybe it's because of the second tweet. Maybe he thought that, hey, because I'm going to be gone, maybe that means the series is done. Maybe that means the reboot is over. But I don't think that the departure of their head director is going to stop anybody from making more Sailor Moon Crystal episodes, or whatever the next part of the miniseries would be. I don't think anybody is really stopping them from continuing the series, even if their head director was gone. They have other people I do believe that they can have if they really wanted to. But the bottom line here is it's hard to really make heads or tails about what this exactly means for the future of Sailor Moon Crystal. We do not know. At least the initial 26 episodes are done, and that's probably what they mean by that, but it's hard to really say for sure. And these are the first two official tweets we have seen out of anybody out of Toei Animation, and these might be bad news for the series. Although it might just mean there might be a new head director and things might go north from there as it pertains to possible quality improvements. I've always said maybe they're going to take a break and reassess what they need to do in order to improve the series. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe that means that this guy's going to be let go. Maybe that's why he's deciding to find a change of scenery or to leave Toei Animation or anime in general altogether. We really do not know, but this is the first official word we've got from anybody. That needs to say something to Toei Animation to not let these types of rumors go. Just don't do it. Just say something. Anything is good. Any kind of information that you can give us to not hold out hope or to leave our fingers crossed is a good thing. Don't just let people believe rumors, because if you do that, you're just going to create issues like this, where we need to rely on tweets like this in order to get any kind of news out of you. And Toei Animation is strangely silent on this. They are not speaking about this. Why? Why just leave the people who are interested in the series in the dark like that? Just give us some information. For God's sakes, just do it. I don't know why that's so hard for people to do at Toei Animation. I don't know why that's so hard for them to just say something instead of just staying silent about all of these different issues that have come about in recent months when it came to Sailor Moon Crystal, about the animation quality, about the DMCA takedown requests on our reactor videos, on mine, on Peachy's, on Amber's, on Omar's, and most recently Caleb's as well? Are you kidding me? Is that the only communication we're gonna get out of you? Is that the only way we're gonna get your attention, is if we do something to trigger your all glorious bot? Is that the only way we're gonna get your attention? And it took us this long to get these two tweets. It took us this long to get just this. All in all, I have to criticize them on this. This is a horrendous handling of the situation. This is a horrendous handling of how to deal with rumors, how to deal with issues like this. Don't stay silent. Please do not. Always at least answer some things. I always say, hey, we can't comment on this time about this issue. Just say something instead of being silent. For God's sakes, don't be silent because you create issues like this. And for God's sakes, please stop with these DMCA takedown requests. They help nobody and they do you no PR favors. But of course, it doesn't help any of us if we are making mountains out of molehills and sending possible death threats to Toei Animation about the quality of SM Crystal. Why would you do that? Why would you make the rest of us look like complete and utter fools? That much is idiotic, and it should never happen at any time, for any reason, on any side of any debate. That should never happen. Unfortunately, it does happen a lot, but it should not. Especially when we're talking about an anime series. Come on, people. We are better than that. We are tons better than that. And if you are doing that, stop it now. But in any event, hopefully that does not mean that the reboot in of itself is done. And we get a little bit more of information about just what exactly this means from somebody who is actually within Toei Animation now and is willing to stay with Toei Animation. Hopefully the possibility of Crystal 60 is still a thing. And if it turns out that Sakai Munihisha has decided to leave Toei in one way or another, then we do wish him all the best in his future endeavors. And that's going to do it for this edition of the Special Report. Thanks again for watching. My name is JD Shadow, and that just happened.